interesting is like when you look at a lot of these childhoods, you completely understand how we got to that point. And we don't try to justify, we just try to understand the child they were and then the adult they became. I got to give a big shout out to the Sinister team this week. If you didn't know, we are a team entirely of women outside of our lovely editor, Mr. Lawrence. Researcher, writer, post-production person, like pre-production, everything. Like it's all chicks, okay? And this week I thought it was really interesting because researcher was really, really into this case. Writer was just putting in so many like thoughts that she had, because a lot of us have heard of the Jodi Arias case, but I specifically asked if we could go in deep. I want to find out details that I never knew before about Jodi Arias. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know I've done so many Jodi Arias videos. I highly recommend after you watch this one, there's an older video of mine where we watched her entire court case where a guy named Juan Martinez, I mean, just really just took Jodi to church, okay? It was actually incredible to watch. I've got to say, though, it is one of my older videos. So when I was a little younger, I was very, very animated and very expressive. So it's kind of a fun video, but also at the same time, like, just know it's a little bit different than what you may be used to if you've come in the last year. Look, I grow up a little bit sometimes, but the video itself is still interesting. We'll put a whole playlist of Jodi Arias videos below if you want to catch up after this, but I mean, we have to start with the whole story. This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. If you're starting a business or selling something online, or even just trying to find a place to display your portfolio, whether it's creative writing, art, photography, whatever, you need a website. You do. And listen, everybody wants to have a website for their art or business that they create, but it's just such a pain buying the domain, writing all the information, trying to figure out SEO. Oh my God. And don't even get me started on design. I am somebody that is not good at designing anything. It's an all-in-one platform that is designed to help you stand out and succeed online. And listen, it's not just about having a website. It's not just about having a flashy domain name. It's about it looking good. I mean, come on. Have you ever gone to a business's website, but it's kind of janky or it seems like it's a little dated and you're like, okay, how up to date is the business itself? Listen, your aesthetic is pretty important and Squarespace makes it incredibly easy. You can pick from hundreds of different designs that are fully customizable. You can drag, drop your images, change the colors quickly, fonts, sizes, plug in your social media. Whatever you want to do, it's just a couple of clicks with Squarespace. The other cool part is Squarespace can also help with the SEO. SEO is basically search engine optimization, okay? Now, if you're promoting your website on Instagram or, TikTok or something like that, then sure, you might get a couple of hits. But the best way that you're going to get new customers and new eyes is if your stuff is trending a little bit higher on the Google search page. And that is what SEO tools help you do. And guess what? It's all built into Squarespace. I know, it's already enough that you got to make the art yourself. Now you got to build the website and now you got to market it. No. Let's just use the SEO tools on Squarespace. So, as usual, I got a little discount for you. It's 10% off and it's 10% off of your first domain purchase at Squarespace. So, if you guys want to check it out, you can go to squarespace.com/sinister. That's squarespace.com/sinister. Or when you go to checkout, just enter the promo code SINISTER. Hey, don't forget to get your 10% off and let them know where you came from. Jodi Arias was born July 9th, 1980 in a place called Salinas, California. Her parents were Bill and Sandra Arias, and they had actually just gotten married the year before in 1979. So Jodi was their first child together. She did have an older half-sister, which she somewhat had a relationship with, but in this new family, she was the oldest of several children. Jodi had two younger brothers and a younger sister, so she was kind of the big sister of the family. But her dad worked in restaurants. He owned a couple of different restaurants, and then her mother was a stay-at-home mom. She was kind of a homemaker. So even though Jodi was the big older sister, mom was always around. Growing up, she seemed to have a pretty normal childhood. She was engaged in a lot of activities. She got really into photography. She had her own little camera, and everybody said that Jodi seemed like a very sweet, normal girl. Now, not to get too far ahead, but Jodi would later in her trial cite that she was in a physically abusive home and there were a lot of issues. But what I find interesting was in 2017, Jodi's mom did an interview about what life was like now that her daughter had been locked up. And I have to say, the patterns that I saw in her mother's interview later, kind of defending her daughter, accepting what had happened, and promising to just always be a mom no matter what, without denying Jodi's wrongdoing, it kind of indicated to me that she was a pretty sound, emotionally mature person. I'm zeroing in on this because you guys know I'm always interested in the childhood. And I mean, all of Jodi's siblings did not cite any abuse. And when you actually read the way her mother speaks, she sounds like a very normal person. So I believe that Jodi did have a fairly normal childhood until her dad got sick. Jodi's dad got so sick that he couldn't really interact with the kids. He couldn't work anymore. He had to sell all of the restaurants, and he also needed to be a little bit closer to family because even though his wife was, a homemaker, his illness was severe enough that he just needed a little bit more support. I would actually say that this might be the turning point in Jodi's life because suddenly her dad is so sick that he's not really present in her life. Even though her dad was always working, she still got to experience as a little girl, waking up and seeing dad in the morning, dad coming home in the evenings, and just kind of that normalcy, that familial love and everything. And then suddenly at an early age, it's just ripped away. And dad's not always giving hugs like he used to. Dad can't always get up. Sometimes dad is not even home. I believe that this was probably very jarring for Jodi, and I would feel like it creates a child that is just always praying and hoping that dad's going to get better eventually and everything's going to be okay. Because her father wasn't getting better, they moved to a small town called Wairika in California. This kind of brought something else out of Jodi. They described her as very resentful and rebellious. She was in this small town, didn't really connect with people easily, and dad never got better. It was clear to people that Jodi was upset about something, but when directly asked about her dad or how she was feeling, there was nothing there. Jodi never cried. She never seemed emotionally upset. She just was angry. And now, despite the difficulties in the new town, Jodi carried on as she previously did, having a lot of different extracurricular activities that she liked to participate in. She occasionally played soccer. She ran track. She also took some creative writing classes. She seemed to just enjoy exploring different hobbies, whether they were physical or creative. It was just fun for her. But then, when she was 17, she started playing around with a little bit of drugs. In addition to the drugs, she also started developing some self-destructive behaviors. One of which was, well, you guys decide. She met a guy when she was in high school at 17 and was completely enamored with him. He was an older guy and he had his own place, and Jodi wanted to be with him so bad that she actually dropped out of school in her senior year. Just quit halfway through when she only had a couple of months left to go. And Jodi was on track to graduate. She had all these extracurriculars. Her grades were just fine. Nothing astounding, but they were perfectly fine. Months before she's due to graduate, she drops out, starts dating this guy, and moves in with him. I think this is the first indicator of how important men are to Jodi. Mind you, we are in the late 90s, but it's not like this is the 1960s and you, as a woman, just quit everything, quit school and shack up with a man. Personally, I think it's a bit odd that, this is in the late 90s, almost the 2000s, and she just had a few months left and she was like, nope. I love you so much. I am going to move in with you. So she does. And honestly, the relationship does not last long. But regardless, after they break up, Jodi does not return to school. She just enters the workforce and decides to try to figure it out.